Everybody, this is Jose Luis Morales with Remax, the real estate company, and the Morales Group. Today we have a very special guest. We have episode number 16 of the Jose Luis Morales Show. We have Joe Nerberg from AmeriSpec Home Inspections, and he's going to be going over the home inspection process. Now, the reason I've been wanting to do this show is this is probably one of the most important pieces when buying a home, and it's one of the pieces that could make the difference between buying the home and not buying the home. So welcome to the show, Joe. How are you today?
Thank you very much. Thanks, Jose. I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy that you're here. So tell me something good before we get started.
Something good, like a story or
anything good. Anything good.
Oh, boy, you got me. I wasn't prepared for that. Sometimes it depends on the client's sense of humor. They're filled with anxiety for the home inspection process, and that they can't wait till the end of it to go over the report. And one of the inspectors told them that all their light bulbs are screwed up. Made them stop for a while.
That's funny. Good. So let's just start off. What is a home inspection, and when does a home inspection typically happen?
Home inspection typically happens after you're under contract. You're in escrow. The seller, the listing agent, usually gives the buyer a certain amount of time to remove their contingencies for getting inspected. So under the direction of your realtor, you want to get in on that immediately and hire a qualified inspector to take a look at all the important major systems of the house: plumbing, electrical, heating, air, roofing, every you can get to.
Okay, so essentially it's an inspection done by a licensed inspector, and it's basically a walkthrough of the property, essentially, right?
Essentially, and I'm glad you mentioned that term, licensed inspector. A lot of people don't know that in California there is no licensing for home inspectors. Anybody can be an inspector. In fact, Jose, you can go on the internet and call yourself a certified inspector in about an hour and a half.
Are you kidding me? I actually didn't know that. So essentially, anybody can go in an hour and a half and all of a sudden be a home inspector.
There's internet courses, and you take an online exam, and you're all done. It's not the way my guys are trained. It's not the way I'm trained. We all have construction experience.
That's wonderful. That's good. Okay, good. So what does a typical inspection look like for you? Like you meet the client at the property and give us a walkthrough of what that would look like.
The inspector will arrive on the property, usually a little bit before the client gets there, and the realtor gets a uninterrupted, non-distracted look at the exterior, maybe the roof, and he's joined by the buyer. Sometimes the buyer likes to show up at the beginning. Sometimes they'll show up in the middle, and it's good for the client to get there. Then he gets to an idea how to shut off the water, how to shut off the gas, where his electricity is, how to change the furnace filter. So it's kind of like an HGTV episode, all for that client.
That's funny. So we as agents, we have to do something called an agent visual inspection, which is just like a walkthrough of the property. You guys actually test things. So essentially you guys turn on water, turn on light switch, test electrical. How do you guys go about testing that everything is in the order that it's supposed to be in?
That's good, because the first thing we test is the appliances in the kitchen. The dishwasher runs for about an hour and a half. So the first thing the inspector does is he walks through the front door, goes to the kitchen, opens up the dishwasher, making sure no one's keeping a loaf of bread in there or their IRS bills, and starts the dishwasher going. And you come back a couple times to make sure there's no water running around. Then it's in and out of the exterior, the inside, looking up in the attic, on the roof, making sure every system and component is as it should be. And if it's not, we'll tell people. It's written and a verbal inspection report.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this from an agent perspective, Joe. A lot of times buyers look at a home inspection as a cost and sometimes they won't want to do the home inspection because they look at it as a cost. What I recommend to my clients is I look at it as an investment in their property, because ultimately a lot of the things that are potentially wrong with the property, or something could come up that could make a major difference in their home purchase. And what would you say to somebody that is in escrow right now and is considering not doing a home inspection on the property?
Some of those people will question whether they should do the inspection because they were told the property is being sold as is. Well, that just means that's what the seller is selling it for, as is, but that doesn't mean you have to accept it that way, or you should at least know what's wrong with it so you can make those repairs when you move in. I think once you move in and something isn't working, you're not you, but a client's going to be unhappy that he wasn't prepared for that, or they'll call the home warranty company and say, well, this is excluded because something was installed improperly, and eventually they're going to want to sell that house, and those things will come up again for the fee of qualified generalists to run through the plumbing system, the electrical system, the heating, the air conditioning, the roof. This is one guy who's we look at about 400 to 450 items on every inspection. It's much cheaper than hiring individual contractors.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely, and it's a lot more thorough as well too. Because I get that a lot too. Sometimes buyers will say, "Well, my cousin is a contractor, or my uncle is a contractor. I'll just have him come by and take a look at the property." What would you say to somebody like that maybe does have a family member who is in construction? What would the benefits of doing a thorough home inspection versus just having somebody that is a family friend come by the property?
I think that's a good question about family, because that comes up with realtors as well. And my wife is a realtor, and sometimes she gets this call, well, I've already did my thing. My second cousin removed, just got her real estate license, and it was a train wreck. And the same thing with getting an inspection. You just have to give me a call, or any inspector in the area, and say, let me have a sample report so I understand what the complexity is. And that should turn someone around and say, no way my cousin's going to be able to pull that out.
Oh yeah, I actually didn't even know you guys can give sample reports out. So I think that's great, because that'll give them an idea of everything that covers. So what are some of the things that typically come up in a home inspection?
I think there's probably my top five are GFCIs, these ground fault circuit interrupters. Every 3 years, the National Electrical Code changes the requirements. First, they order these electrical devices were required outside and by pools. Then they said they have to be in the bathrooms, and then by the kitchens, and now by the garages, and then underneath kitchen sinks. And these devices, and I'm going to say that sometimes it's kind of scary in the report. I was just at Home Depot this morning. They're selling these things for 11 and 12 bucks a piece. They're incredibly cheap, and they're very easy to install. It's just that these outlets go near a sink, and in case someone's using a hair dryer and it falls in a sink and they go after it and still plugged in, instead of getting shocked badly, the power turns off immediately. And for a few bucks, that's a really good deal. And then the other things that come up is a roof issue, or maybe there are open junction boxes with the exposed wiring up in the attic, a leak under the sink. Sometimes it's the same old. If you've been in the business for a while, and as a realtor, I know some of them could probably tick off the things they know they're going to see in a report before they even see it, because it's the same old.
Yeah, it's a lot of similar items. What is the most expensive thing that you've ever discovered as a result of a home inspection?
I think the foundation. We found 3 of those a week ago. They happen to be in the San Fernando Valley, but crack foundations are a big deal. It's hard to repair because it's at the bottom of the house.
Yeah, I've got a story about that, Joe. where I had a client that didn't want to do their home inspection. And obviously, we always recommend that they do. We told them, hey, we strongly recommend that you do it. He ended up doing it. And the home inspector at that time grabbed like a marble or a ball. He put it on one end of the house, and the ball started rolling in the opposite direction. And that's how we knew that there was some major foundation issues, that the house was sloping down. And it was really interesting because that was one of the times where a client didn't want to do it. And had he not done it, even if he wouldn't have gotten a credit out of it, what I tell people, it's a lot better to find out about things before you close the deal than after you close the deal. Because oftentimes after you close the deal, I mean, it's a done deal, you know. And if you waive your right to do a home inspection, that is something that was offered to you. And if you waive it, then ultimately, I mean, the blame is on you for not doing that home inspection. So that's a very costly item. I
agree.
Was able to go back to the seller and say, I wasn't expecting this, and he was able to renegotiate the contract a little bit and receive some sort of price reduction that was that justified the fact that the foundation is going to need some work after the close of escrow.
It's my understanding, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but once the seller and the listing agent receive the buyer's inspection report, then it becomes part of the transfer disclosure statement. And if the buyer decides he's not going to buy the house, then that has to be presented to the next buyer, and it changes the value of the home.
Yeah, so it becomes a material fact. So what I tell sellers as well too is, look, even if you cancel the escrow on this buyer, I mean, the repairs aren't going to go away. I mean, they're just not going to magically disappear to the next buyer. They're still there, and essentially it's still something that would have to be addressed. Now, obviously, it all depends on how much demand there is for the property. They may be another buyer that takes a look at their inspection report and said, I don't care, I want the property, I really want it, and may be willing to close on it. So it's just kind of a case-by-case situation. Let me ask you this. Do home inspectors ever miss items? And how is a consumer protected to make sure that a home inspector catches the major items? Is there any sort of liability for a home inspector if he misses something?
And we all miss something, but we hope we miss the little itty bitty things, like the bedroom closet is falling off a track. We don't want to miss carbon monoxide or holes in the roof. So every inspector is a little bit different. Everyone comes with a different type of experience from construction background. Some are stronger on roofs, stronger on electrical. And again, it's not required, but we carry E&O insurance, errors and omission, which ours is up to $1 million. So if we miss something horrible, then the client should know going in that we're going to take care of it. We own it. You hired us to be your advocate, your hero, and we miss something major, but you got to own it. You got to take care of it.
Not only that, but I think it's important, Joe, now that you bring that up, I think it's important for the buyer to hire somebody that they know are going to look out for their best interest. So ultimately, as a buyer, you have a choice of which home inspection company to hire and which one's going to do the most thorough inspection and actually look for things that could potentially be wrong with the property. So tell me, what kind of training? I know that obviously you can get licensed, or not licensed, but you can be a home inspector in an hour and a half. What kind of training does your company do to ensure that your inspectors are some of the best qualified inspectors to go out there when they get hired?
Before someone comes to work for me, I send them to Memphis for a week. My franchisor, AmeriSpec, has a large warehouse of electrical panels and furnaces, and that's like walking through a haunted house. So they have a 40-hour class of that. They have an online study course before they get there. And when they come back, it's continuing education, much like the real estate community. We belong to CREA, which is the California Real Estate Inspection Association. It's a voluntary certification, but we need 25 to 30 hours of continuing education every year to maintain your certification. Something new comes up. We have speakers that are experts in swimming pools, experts in electrical, experts in geological and even looking at a crack on a wall. A good inspector is like a detective. He'll go in that house on the other side of that crack and open up doors and windows. And if they stick, well, maybe that's just not a crack. Maybe it's a bigger problem.
Yeah, yeah, it's good. Okay. And then it's like for somebody buying a newer property, like a brand new construction, do things ever come up with brand new constructions? Like should a buyer, if they're buying brand new construction, should they do a home inspection report, and why?
You're right. We recommend a home inspection on a new home because they're built by human beings. They forget some things, and once in a while, not very often, the city inspector is not there supervising. He's in and out of rough in, top out and finish for maybe 15 minutes for each house. So not everything is going to get caught. And yes, yeah, new construction for sure. Yes.
I've heard this, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I've heard this, that when you buy new construction, that if you do a home inspection on it, that you have a year, like a builder's warranty of a year in some cases, where if you do a home inspection report, that they have to come back and fix any items that maybe weren't done properly. Do you have any experience with that, or do you know if that's true?
They have a 1-year builder warranty. And I don't know if they're required to fix it. I mean, it comes up, and we can always attach a section of the code to it to kind of give the builder some kind of a push.
Yeah. Now let me ask you this. So when you're doing a home inspection, I would imagine that sometimes things are questionable whether they're permitted or not. Does a home inspector check for permits, or what does that process look like?
It's something we ask the buyers to do. Not all of them do that, and it's also in the residential purchase agreement that the buyers are strongly recommended to go to the building department, check on permits for the water heater, for the patio cover. If we suspect that a load-bearing wall was removed, just verified, especially when a listing agent advertises the house as completely remodeled. That's a red light that goes off. Get to the building department and see if it really has, or are they exaggerating?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, good. And what would you say is a typical cost for a home inspection? Like how much of a investment are these buyers investing in a home inspection?
I think that typically they should invest a minimum of $300 for the smallest condominium, and we've done houses where it's an all-day project in, say, Calabasas, and that was like a $2,000 inspection.
Does it depend on the price of the home, or does it depend on the size of the home, or both?
The size of the square feet, what year was it built? Are we crawling underneath the house? Does it have a swimming pool? We did one last week in Calabasas, in the hills of Calabasas, was 5 structures, 2 little houses detached. That was an all-day job.
Okay, so it just kind of depends on the size and the overall picture of the property. But for your typical house, you're probably looking in the less than 500, or about $500 or less.
I think our average so far this year is running about 525.
525. Good. Okay. Now, the last question that I wanted to ask you is, after you do your home inspection, do you typically recommend for buyers to do additional inspections based on your findings, or do you do all of the inspections? How does that work?
Depends on what we find. If there's 4 or 5 things that are wrong that concern the electricity, then we'll recommend them hire an electrician or a roofer, or the house is more than 30 years old. Let's get a sewer video and hire a licensed plumbing contractor to do something like that. I would say just about every inspection, there's a recommendation to hire another specialist, and then it's under the strong guidance of their realtor. They might say, well, let's just ask the seller to fix it rather than bring in more contractors, because again, we only have a certain amount of time to remove our contingencies. And this would be a good time to tell you that at AmeriSpec, we return the report that evening, because we're respectful of that contingency period. It's got to be quick.
That's excellent. Great. So just for the consumers watching out there from a real estate perspective, and just so that you understand the process a little bit more, when you get your offer accepted and you're purchasing a property, the California contract gives you 17 days to do your inspections. During that time, you can do a home inspection, you can do a termite inspection, you can do a foundation inspection, you can do an electrical foundation, you can do any type of inspection that you feel would be in your best interest. Now, Joe brought up something really important earlier, that sometimes listing agents will put that the property sold as is. If you still have your inspection contingency, that doesn't mean that you can't do your inspection. Even if you don't have an inspection contingency, that doesn't mean that you can't do your inspections. If you don't have an inspection contingency, that just means that you can't walk away from the deal as a result of your findings on a home inspection. So here at the Morales Group, we always encourage all of our buyers to do a home inspection. We look at a home inspection not as a cost, we look at it as an investment. And I strongly believe that it's in everyone's best interest to always get a home inspection. Doesn't matter if you're an investor, doesn't matter if you're a first-time home buyer, doesn't matter if your uncle is a contractor, your family member is a plumber, doesn't matter. We always recommend to do a home inspection, because some of the things that home inspectors, because of their training, have been able to find save our clients thousands of dollars. So I wanted to end it on that note on my part. Joe, do you have anything else that you would like to add that you feel would be helpful for the consumers watching this show?
I think you covered, sir. That I'm shut my mouth. I'm blown away. I love it. This is good.
Good. So I wanted to say thank you, Joe. And if anybody's looking for a home inspector, Joe, how can they find you?
You can find me on Yelp. We have the most amount of 5-star reviews of any inspection company in Ventura County. And call me at 805-522-2733. I'm easy to find. I drive a Prius with my AmeriSpec name all over it. It's a wrap. I'm always getting honked. It's sometimes it's good, sometimes it's a bad honk, you know. Easy to find.
Well, I wanted to just valuable information. We know that this is our mission at the Morales Group, is the community by bringing professionals in their industry so that they can share information, so that people can make better decisions when buying or selling real estate. So thank you once again, Joe. This is episode number 16 of the Jose Luis Morales Show. Joe Nerberg from AmeriSpec. We are out. Adios. Bye-bye.